Hi there, today we're going to make these dangle earrings with Swarovski crystals. We will be using 20 gauge wire, which will be the base wire, and also 26 gauge wire, which is the weaving wire, and these are in rose gold. You'll also need some beads of your choice. These are Swarovski metallic ovals. You'll also need end caps. You'll need ear wires and jump rings as well, and some tools and a ruler. So let's get going. So just straighten up your 20 gauge wire, and you want to cut off 3 lengths of about 8 centimeters for these earrings. So just cut them off 3 lengths and try and keep your wires as straight as possible. Just use your nylon jaw pliers to straighten the wire if you have to. So what you want to do is get your first base wire and get your weaving wire, and you want to start from the back of the wire with a little tail and wrap that 3 times round the front of your base wire, and make sure it's tight and the loops are next to each other, not overlapping. So you want to do that 3 times just to lock the weaving wire in place. Then once you've got your wire towards the front, if you take your next base wire and put that on top, and then you want to go over the top of both of these wires and bring it through the wires. And that's you starting your weave. Then get your top wire and go over the top of all three of the wires, keeping your wire straight. Go over the top of all 3 and go through the top 2 and bring it over the top again, and then right down to the very back of all the wires and start on your first wire again and wrap round that one. Then go over your first 2 wires and bring your wire through the first 2 and over all of them. Then bring the wire through the top 2 and take it over the back and over them all. That's your first weave. This is a basket weave. So take it over the first one again, bring it back over the next 2, bring it back through the middle of the first 2, take it over the 3, bring it through the top 2 and back over them all. First one, wrap it over, bring it round, wrap it over the first 2 wires, bring it round, take it through them 2 wires, take it over the top of all the wires, bring it through the top 2 wires and over the back of them all. And just keep following that pattern until you get to about 6 centimeters of weave that you've done. So just keep following that pattern. Hopefully you can follow along okay. Remember, bottom one, loop around, over the next two, through the bottom two, make sure you tighten it up as you go, through, bring it over them all, take it through the top two, over the top, bring it to the bottom. The first one, bring it over the second two, bring it through the second two, over the top, bring it through the top two, over the top, bring it right to the bottom, and just keep that work going. And just keep making sure that your loops are all even and they're not crossing over each other. So you just want to continue that till it's about 6 centimeters. Just make sure that your wires don't get kinked either or bent. So I've just speeded this part up a little bit. It does use a lot of wire, so that's why I work from the reel, because you just don't know how much you're going to use. Hope you're able to follow along okay, and it's clear enough. Let me know if you have any comments. These earrings will be up in my Etsy shop and my web page, so they're available for purchase. I use Swarovski crystals. They're like a metallic rose gold. They're really, really sparkly. I use these, and I think they're 10mm. Just keep making sure your wire is straight as you're going along. Hopefully you can see that weave. It is hard to see. So once you get to about 6 centimeters, that's when you want to start just making sure that everything's straight. Use your flat nose pliers just to straighten it out, so everything's sitting quite nice. Obviously I've already done one, so I'm just referencing to that. You want to start to bend it from the middle, but do it very gently and do it one side at a time, so that you don't make too much of a bend in one side and not the other. Just try and make it as seamless as possible, and keep your wires flat as well. They might want to curl a bit, so just keep them flat. Use your flat nose pliers if you need to straighten it out a bit. And you want to just make sure you get the same shape as your other earring. And whatever way you cross over, make sure you cross over the opposite for the other earring, sorry, that makes sense. So it's like a mirror image. And you're just trying to get the same sort of size for each. And you can see that I've cut a bit, I've cut the reel so there's some left because we're kind of at the end, so I know that I won't need too much more of the weaving wire. So once you're happy where the placement is, you've got one arm coming over the other, make sure the other earring has the opposite arm coming over, if that makes sense. And we're going to use that weaving wire to put our bead on and connect it in. So just keep referencing your earring to the one you've already made, or if that's your first one, then obviously you'll do that for the next one. Just keep messing around with it until you're happy with how it looks and how all the wires are placed. And use your flat pliers if you need to manipulate the wire. Just check that they're as close to the same size as you can. As I say, do the opposite wire arm going the opposite way. Once you're happy with the placement, then you can use the weaving wire just to bind it all together. Once you've got your bead in place. That's the small tail I've cut off, the very first one, not the weaving wire that I'm using at the moment. And then just use your chain nose pliers to hide that little end into the other wires so that it doesn't catch on anything or scratch your skin. And then you just want to lock it in place. You just want to lock all the arms in place with that next weave, just wherever it looks good. And just try and duplicate what you've done on the other earring if you've already started. And just bring it through the weaving wire, just to bring it all together. And then your weaving wire's now at the front ready to put your bead on. Just flatten and straighten any bits that you're not happy with. It can still be manipulated at this stage. Get your excuse me, get the bead of your choice and just string that on. and make sure that it's going the opposite side to the other earring. Just make sure you mirror image. That's a hard one to say altogether. And this bead has freedom to move around, and the movement will just add more sparkle. So I was just fixing that wire a bit more in place where I wanted it. Take the bead to where you want it to sit, similar to the other one. It's quite a tricky bit at this point. And then you just want to anchor that round the wrap that you already have and make sure it's tight and the wire's not bent or getting snagged. And just wrap that a few times. A few times round the weaving wire just to secure it. And keep checking. And just tweak any wires that you have to. And then what you want to do is you want to feed the wire back through the bead and take it up to the top. Be careful you don't snag the wire or break it. Just be very gentle. And you want to take that wire back up to the top. Just be gentle with it. And that means that there's 2 wires going through the bead, so there's a bit more strength there. Once you're happy with that, then you just want to weave in and out the few wires that are there, just wherever it looks good, and take it through the basket weave at one point. And that's really just to capture the end of the weaving wire. Do it similar to the earring you've already done, or if this is the first earring, then you just want to repeat what you've done and just take the wire through the weave. Be gentle with it and don't get it tangled. And once you're happy that's all secure, happy with how it looks and where it is and the placement, and you can just snip that off. And then you want to tuck the little end into the wires that are already there with your chain nose pliers or flat nose pliers, whatever you can use to get in. Just make sure it won't scratch and catch on anything. And then all you're left to do is just flatten it out in case any of the wires have tried to curl up. Just flatten it out, make it, put it in the position that you want it to be in. It's just a case of messing around with it till you're happy. Then you want to snip off the extra. I would probably leave about 6 or 7 mils at the top because you want to sort of curl them into the centre so that you've got something for the crimp end to grip onto once you glue it. And you're using jewellery glue, so it's really just to give it a bit of tooth so that it won't fall off or slip off, because if you didn't put a wee bend in the wire at the end, then there's a chance it'll just slip out the toothed crimp end. So that's what I'm doing just now, just kind of making a wee bend at each bit, bending them sort of in on themselves and then just squishing it. And obviously still checking that the wires are sitting okay. And then you want to add some glue into your end. Not too much, but you can always take it off. Just put it inside the crimp end, and then some on the jewellery wire as well. And just try and get it into the wee nooks and crannies. And that just adds another bit of adhesion into it. And then place the end on, try and centralise it as best as you can. But don't crimp it all down at one time. Do it gently and go from one side to the next. Just be careful with this part because once it's down, that's it. So just do it gently, do one side at a time. Just a little, keep manoeuvring it, keep looking at it and checking, and then once you're happy, just squeeze from one side to the other, just gently. And with the glue and the end cap has got little teeth at the end, so when you squish them together, it's a bit like a Venus flytrap. It'll close over on the wire, and because the wires are slightly bent in, there's not a chance that they'll come out or slip out. So, and just keep gently squishing it until it's totally squished together. There's a wee bit glue came out the top there, so I've just taken it away, but that's not a problem. And just straighten it up. That looks good. And then get a little jump ring, rose gold, and a little ear wire, a fish hook, whatever you want to call them. And I bent that to the side so that it sits nice, because the jump ring will go the opposite way, if that makes sense. Always open your jump rings from side to side, never pull them apart because you'll distort the wire. Oops. So get them with your chain nose pliers and just slightly pull them apart from each other, opposite ends. Place your little loop through the end. Through the end of the, I forgot what it's called. You know what I mean. Add on your ear wire and close up the jump ring. Opposite again, just do the opposite way, side to side, till you've closed them together. And just check everything's okay. Straighten your wire if you have to. And that's you made a lovely pair of earrings. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you were able to follow along okay. Thanks for watching.